Welcome to the podcast where we give a preview into HOSPACE, HOSPA's annual conference set to once again unite the industry, offering networking opportunities with leading industry figures coupled with insightful topical discussions on key issues affecting hospitality. Hosted at the Royal Lancaster, London, on Thursday the 14th of November, HOSPA will play host to an array of discussions and workshops from leading minds in the industry, covering key issues impacting the contemporary hospitality landscape, including sustainability, technology, wellness, cybersecurity, and career progression. In this episode, we speak with Nicola Rohn from SHR Group and Steve Johnson from Ruckus Networks. And I have a quick review of the planned programme.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
I'm very excited to be joining my first HOSPACE event here in 2024. Believe it or not, I've been sending sales leaders to HOSPACE for over 15 years to meet and mingle with hoteliers and engage in the pertinent topics that are changing the landscape of hospitality, including looking at the role that technology has to play in enabling businesses and hotels to perform better. Now, at the event, I'm actually going to be moderating one of the sessions. You can look out for that on the Maximising Profit Potential through Clever Marketing and Shrewd Revenue Management, alongside Cycus Hospitality, Net Affinity, and House of Gods. I'll also be coming live through LinkedIn. Yes, we'll be broadcasting, speaking to hoteliers and the speakers to dive more deeper into some of the topics that we're going to be covering. Now, let's have a quick look at what the programme has in store. So there will be a review of 2024 with BDO, hot stats and venue performance, looking at how the industry has been performing. Navigating the new normal with Kate Nichols, OBE from UK Hospitality, and James Stagg from The Caterer. There's a session on prioritising people with a panel including members from the Dorchester, Flatiron, the Sababa Company and Be Inclusive Hospitality. A fireside chat, igniting innovation through strategic design, which you'll hear about in my interview with Nicola Rohn from HHR Group. Cyber and using data to understand and mitigate risk with Howden. Collaboration and consultation, the route to successful technology decisions, of which you'll hear a little bit from Ruckus Networks Steve Johnson. And then we'll hear from the leaders panel to learn what's keeping hoteliers up at night, with Simon Casson from Corinthia, Chris Wayne Wills from Crera Hotels, Anna Jackson, the Sloane Club, Nina Jivraj Stevenson from Queensway, moderated by Liz Hartstone from Hartstone Rochette. Now, let's hear from the two sponsors about what they're seeing are the key challenges in the industry. Joining me now is Nicola Rohn, the VP of Business Development, EMEA and APAC for SHR Group, an Access company. Nicola, thanks ever so much for joining us today to look at HOSPACE and the upcoming programme. Now, what is a particular draw for you for attending HOSPACE? Why is it such an important event?
Oh, I think HOSPACE is rooted in great things. We've always been an admirer of Jane and her team in terms of wanting to stay on top of the real challenges that are facing hotels today from a commercial standpoint. She always brings together some great minds, some great speakers, and keeps the content of the conference really rich. But it's not sort of, that there's a real opportunity to delve deep into subjects. And so I think we find it's a really useful sort of conference to attend, not only to sort of network and meet with people, but also to keep our finger on the pulse of what is important to hoteliers and what they're thinking about and the challenges that they're facing.
I was going to say, there has been so much change over the last few years. It seems that every new year comes a new challenge. And particularly over the last year, as we've seen, the cost of living increase, ADR perhaps become a little bit more flatlined now compared to where it had been climbing so significantly over the last couple of years. Where do you see the key challenges for hoteliers in the market today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's interesting you ask. I mean, we've just done a really interesting piece of research with a company called H2C, where we really delved into sort of the direct booking acceleration subject, because it's still an incredibly hot topic, right? It's still something that hotels are grappling with constantly. And certainly when we thought to think at the beginning of the year, when we were looking at 2024 trends, I think, hotels really saw OTAs come back with a bang. They were investing heavily in their own loyalty propositions. And obviously we've seen all of the recent changes in terms of search and Google and the search landscape and how that's been evolving through AI, as AI becomes even more prevalent in every aspect of what we do and how we sell. So there were some really interesting insights on that in terms of, very much looking at that sort of direct business acceleration kind of starting to flatline a bit for hotels. And the challenge that faces, it's now a case of how they continue to manage that kind of business mix and try and prevent the OTAs from swinging the pendulum in the other direction. We've had a couple of years of benefiting from some really strong direct business performance. So certainly from our perspective, this is where, our technology and how we consider to, what's important and how we prioritize really comes into play. Another interesting sort of feature from that study was that, when we look at what's moving the needle for hoteliers, we've talked a lot in the past about personalization and the ability to personalize the experience. But actually what a real struggle that hoteliers were grappling with was the sort of fragmentation of technology in the hospitality industry and the ability for sort of these sort of different solutions that are available in the marketplace to talk to one another in a meaningful way and integrate together.
Very meaty topics that HOSPACE has this year. And in fact, you're going to be hosting one particular session, a fireside chat, Igniting Innovation Through Strategic Design with Neil Stone. Please tell us a little bit more. How did this come about and what can we expect from that conversation?
So Neil, I'm sure, is probably not that well known to a lot of people in the room, but he has an absolutely fascinating background. So I think Neil was introduced to Jane through a mutual contact, Fergus Boyd, who I'm sure many people know. He does a lot of work with HOSPA, amazing work in sort of helping hoteliers navigate the technology landscape. And I think Fergus did some work with Neil Stone in the past, particularly during their time at BA together. But Neil's background is very much sort of strategic design. So it's a really interesting concept because I think one of the things that, Neil starts off the conversation with, which is an interesting question, is if technology is the answer, what was the question? So our chat very much starts from there. And we look at the role of designing experiences. So from a hotelier standpoint, we think a lot about design from the physical experience perspective in terms of that when the guest walks in through the front door, what is that experience that we want to deliver to them from a service, from a hospitality perspective? And I suppose Neil and I's chat just looks at that in a bit of a broader sense. So we look at strategic design being a very multifaceted thing that can be applied just as much to the digital experience as well as the physical experience and how those two things overlap. And then just being careful about how you frame challenges, taking a step back, thinking a bit more holistically with sort of input from all of your team and looking at how design can be about an evolution of something, not necessarily always the revolution of something. So I think it'll be a really interesting and insightful, probably one of those moments where you take a step back and go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I hope there will also be some really practical things that the room can do when they go back into their businesses and collaborate with their teams to try and bring some of these sort of design practices into how they go about sort of thinking about their businesses and the challenges that they have.
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating that, and particularly that thinking process and that approach that you have to take to be able to design those elements of technology to be able to answer the problems that you have within the business, but also provide those guest experiences. Nikki, thanks ever so much for joining us today and sharing your insights for HOSPACE. I look forward to seeing you at the event and certainly exploring some more of these key topics in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. Look forward to seeing you there.
Joining me now is Steve Johnson, the Senior Director, EMEA Hospitality at Ruckus Networks. Good to see you again, Steve. I know we haven't actually seen each other since the International Hotel Technology Forum. Those months have well disappeared. How is the year maturing for you, and what is it looking like for 2024?
Yeah, we've had a good year, very exciting year. We spent a lot of time and tremendous focus in the hospitality market at Ruckus Networks. So we've attended and sponsored and taken part in a large number of the events. And one of the ones I'm looking forward to most is the next time we're going to see each other face to face is next week at HOSPACE.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited myself because this is the first time that I get to go, believe it or not. But there's a fantastic program on offer there. But before let's diving in, just tell us a bit more about Ruckus Networks.
Yeah, of course. So Ruckus Networks is a communications technology company specializing in networking solutions in the enterprise and in particular in the hospitality market, which is a very significant market for us, to the extent that we actually build technology and solutions specifically for hotels and adjacent hospitality markets as well. We focus very much on kind of the two headline objectives within hospitality. Number one, which is to give the guest an excellent experience and the very best experience that they can using our technology. And the other is to completely optimize the operational side of the business, ensuring that a broad suite of technologies can be deployed across our foundations for IT, the network itself.
Now, I mean, we've seen so many different challenges in the market over the last few years. How are you seeing hotels address these challenges, or what particular challenges are you seeing starting to emerge for the industry?
Well, I think there's two sides to it. I think the main one is adapting to the new guest trends, of which we see probably four emerging stronger than any others. So the kind of areas that the guests are particularly interested in experiencing these days are, number one, digital control. And I've got a lot of experience of this. I travel all around EMEA, stay in lots of different types of hotels. Some are, major multinational chains. Some are more localized or even independent hotels. And the guest experience that many of them are striving to deliver now is to enable that digital control for the guest. So the ideal, kind of the goal and the vision that we're all working towards, is for the hotel or the hotel chain to have an app, thereby, directly addressing the question of loyalty, but is to have an app that will allow me to open the front door of the hotel, unlock the front door of the hotel, walk straight past the reception desk, order a lift or have the lift ready and waiting for me, go to my floor, the relevant floor, travel to my room, unlock the door of my room, all of this still just using the app on my phone. And once I'm in my room, use the app to adjust the lighting to where I want it to be, adjust the heating to where I want it to be, and possibly even, cast entertainment onto the TV or operate the TV directly, as well as a host of other things. Now, for all of my travels, we're not quite there yet, but one of the biggest advances I've seen is strives in that direction in particular. And there are many, many hotel chain apps out there. Some are better than others, and you're not going to tempt me into naming which ones I think are better than others, because most of them remain Ruckus customers. The interesting thing is the speed at which it's developing, and I think how close that vision is starting to feel like it's becoming. So digital control is one. Another one is digital nomads, and this is a real basic one for us. Again, I can reference myself, but I think we can all attest to this. we don't travel without our laptops and our smartphones anymore. So work comes with us everywhere we go. And I saw one hotel use a really acute snapshot on this, which is your most connected guests could be your most delighted guests in the future. And the third one I'm going to bring up is sustainability. So travel got a bit of a bad rap over recent years in terms of the negative impact that it's alleged that, well, not alleged, that it does have in terms of the environment. And it's becoming increasingly important for guests, particularly the next generation of guests, actually. There was an interesting survey that I read. I think it's dangerous to quote if you're not absolutely certain, but I think it was by booking.com from last year. And I do remember the stats. So it said that 46% of travelers now are interested in the sustainability story when they travel and when they're booking. I think it said 75%, for 75%, it's actually it's a very important thing. But if you look at the next generation, so the generation behind us, or behind me, certainly, the younger generation, the stats were something like 75% or 76%, where it was a key deciding factor. So it was right at the front of their decision-making in terms of how they traveled and where they stayed as well. So we're seeing the hospitality market obviously react to that. Fourth one is personalization. So it's an ability for the hotel to understand who you are. So I was in very well-known international chain hotel last week. I was in Qatar, and the app they had was great. It gave me most of the features that I wanted. It unlocked doors, gave me all the information I needed. And if I'd been a tourist, regrettably, I was attending a conference over there. So I didn't see a lot more than the inside of the hotel and the taxi on the way back to the airport. But as I was looking at the app, it was giving me all kinds of suggestions about things to do when I was there. I'd never been there before. So it was providing me with information that would have enhanced my experience of staying at the location. What I think we need to get to with personalization is for that app to understand me specifically. So it was giving those experiences generically to anybody that had the app. But if it could understand me specifically and understand what my preferences are in terms of the types of place I want to go or the type of restaurant I might want to eat in, so that much as you do, with social media these days, so that it was specifically targeting me with personalized messaging for Steve Johnson. And if it understood what floor of the hotel I would like my room to be in, and do I want to be near the ground? Do I want to be right at the top? Do I want a sea view? Do I want a balcony? Do I want my room to be at a particular temperature when I enter it? And all of these things, then that's kind of the vision that the hospitality environment has for personalization as well.
Excellent. Now, you're actually going to be speaking on stage as part of a panel discussion at HOSPACE on the collaboration and consultation through route to successful technology decisions alongside Imperial Hotels, Cvent, CG, yourself, Ruckus Networks, and Rocco Forte Hotels. Now, when it comes to the buyers in the hospitality industry, how informed and prepared are they seeming today? Has there been change and how are they approaching their purchases?
I'm not sure how much you're going to like this response, Ryan. It is very much an it depends answer to this. So at either end of the scale, if we talk to, and Ruckus does work with almost all of the large multinational chains, they are typically very well informed, but they're also very, very well resourced. And that's where it comes from. And I would say that my experience of working with them is that in many cases, they're driving us. So they're driving the technology manufacturers. They're the ones pushing the boundaries towards some of those visions that I described earlier, and they're pulling us along with them. So we're creating technology based on the demand that they already know that they have, and they're very well able to articulate. And they're exceptionally knowledgeable about integrating multiple different technologies and multiple different applications, and have an ability to create the solution themselves. At the other end of the scale, you're talking about potentially independent hotels or much smaller domestic chains. who don't have the IT specialization and the IT resource. And we very much see it as our role, working alongside our hospitality-centric LSPs, systems integrators, who deliver the technology, to take some of that market-leading technology that we're building for the large chains, but also make it available to the rest of the industry as well. Now, that requires us to be much better at communicating to the smaller domestic chains or the independent hotels. That's something we're very much working on, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that in the panel session next week.
I know you've got a lot of news due to be coming out at HOSPACE as well. So that's going to be some exciting developments, which people can obviously hear, hopefully, on the LinkedIn live broadcast or on our post-HOSPACE show. So we'll be definitely following up with you even more. And I look forward to seeing you again in person in just very shortly, Steve.
It's great to see you now, Ryan. I can't wait to see you next week.
It was a pleasure to speak to Nicola and Stephen about HOSPACE 2024. I certainly look forward to being there for my first ever time and reporting back through our LinkedIn Live and our post-event podcast. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Ciao for now.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music Sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.